Alright? So, next little section, part 5 is sexual harassment. I'll just skip the whole section altogether. You don't have to prepare anything. It is very different from country to country. Most Western countries have different laws. In each country, the law is different from all the other countries. For the country which you work in or you operate in, you should understand what the law is and what the law really means. What is also important to understand that in almost all European countries, as well as the US and UK, you may have sexual harassment also by women employees of men. Now, in the common, meaning 99% of the times, it will be a male employee harassing female employees. But you also have to understand that it's quite legal. It happens that women employees will harass a man. So it's not a one-way relationship of men harassing women, but legally it's quite acceptable to have a female harassing males. And now there are a lot of cases coming out of male harassing other males or females harassing other females. So it's a little bit more complicated for you. The main lesson is you will have to learn and understand the law in a particular country, whatever the law is. For each country, it will be different. And I can't possibly know and understand the legal issues of every country. You just understand the one you work with. And the last section within this chapter, before we continue with the appendix, is workplace spirituality. So, what happens is that for many employees, times have gotten a lot more difficult. Also, one of the biggest problems which you here will be experiencing in Thailand in coming years and decades is greed and materialism getting and gripping everyone more and more, and the corresponding loss of spirituality. So what happens is the West, meaning United States, UK, and most of Europe, has lost most of its spirituality to the point where employees feel emptiness in their workplace. They don't see, it's called meaning. They don't understand why they really have to work. Yeah, after a certain level, it's not anymore about the money. Money is not everything in life, as you will be discovering on your own. Money cannot buy you happiness. Yeah, money can buy you a house, and it can buy you a car, and the next iPad, okay, and the next little toy to play with, but it won't buy you happiness. It won't buy for you meaning of life, okay? The meaning of life you have to find on your own. Internal, spiritual satisfaction you have to discover on your own. Well, this is a problem which has been in Western economies for the last maybe 20, maybe 30 years, where a loss of spirituality has caused fundamental dissatisfaction from work, and this problem, which began 20, 30 years ago in the West, is moving to the East. It's already becoming a problem in Japan. It's beginning to become a problem in Korea, also in Taiwan. In other words, it's becoming already a problem in developed Asian economies. We call these the Asian tiger economies. And over time is moving now to the so-called cub economies. The tiger cub economies are the Asian economies which are growing fast in moving towards or moving in the direction of, let's see, the tiger economies. Tiger economies are Hong Kong, Singapore, Korea, and Taiwan. These are the 4 leading Asian economies. Of course, we always put in there Japan and all the others. And then you have the cub. Tiger cub is a little baby tiger, okay? And the tiger cub economies today are Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, and maybe 1 or 2 more, okay? You can probably help me with 1 or 2 more. So these are the tiger cub economies. So these problems, which were problems of the West 20, 30 years ago, and becoming problems of the advanced Asian economies, are slowly coming to be problems in those tiger cub economies. And employers and companies will need to deal with spirituality. And spirituality, workplace spirituality, means that you have to recognize that employees are human beings. It's not a machine that works. It's a human being. They have their own lives, they got their own heart, they got their own feelings, they got their other things going on, and these people need more than job, and need more than money, okay? Money is just not enough. But these people need to satisfy their internal human needs beyond money. And that's what workplace spirituality is, and that's what many major corporations are trying to do, trying to help employees with spirituality. All right, and they do that by developing what's called spiritual culture. This is a culture or mentality where you try to support people's spiritual needs. Again, you have to understand people are not simply machine. They don't just work, and then you just throw them away. They got feelings, they got other things, and if you support these, you're likely to have a better, more satisfied workforce, and therefore better strategic realization. In other words, you can better achieve your strategic goals, okay, with better, happier employees. And if they're happy, you're going to have less turnover. So, some of the keys and some of the characteristics is a strong sense of purpose. Any organization should have a strong sense of purpose. You know what they're doing, the employees understand what they're doing, they understand why are they doing it, they understand everything related to the business. So, organizational members know why the organization exists. So, what's in the business? Why the business is there? Yeah, here in the restaurant, it's fairly easy. It's to feed people, but also it's to provide them experience, the special experience. But some restaurants aren't simply to feed people. Some restaurants have the idea to provide a relaxing atmosphere, okay? Well, sometimes parents will choose a particular restaurant because the kids can play or can get entertained, and the parents can relax for 20 minutes on their own on the table, while, let's say, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old can do their thing, not bothering the parents. Sometimes restaurant is a very important place for business meeting. Business people will actually meet in the restaurant to discuss business. They do this in the West all the time, okay? Especially higher level employees, they use the business lunch, especially the business dinners for bigger things, and sometimes the higher level executives will usually also have a business breakfast. If work begins at 8:30, they'll begin 7:45 or 8 o'clock with a business breakfast, where they're going to sit down, and while eating, they're going to be discussing still business, okay? So it's very important to understand that sometimes a restaurant is not simply a place to eat, and many customers don't go there to eat. They can go to eat in 100 other places. They go for a specific purpose which may be different from eating. Example, when I was living and working in Bahrain, capital is Manama, and our university, the university will have a special meeting at the beginning of the year, just like we had one here at Qatar Beach. We go over there. We go there at a 5-star hotel, very, very well known and popular in the Middle East, called the Gulf Hotel. Okay, and we go there because of the special environment. You actually are sitting out in the garden. You got all the flowers and everything. You got the tables. You got the fountains. So it's a very, very, very luxurious place. And you get to have the first meal, and then the second meal, and then the drinks, and then you go to choose everything you want to eat on a big table, right? Choose all you can eat, whatever you like to eat. And it begins at 7 o'clock, and it finishes at midnight, okay? And here, we don't go there to eat. Again, we can eat anywhere we like. We go there for the special environment, okay? They got the lighting, and they got the palm trees, and it's beautiful. It's nice, okay? You really go there and love it. You stay there for 5 hours. And of course, they got the music and all the other. What you study here is in MICE. It is a special type of event. So all of these things are important. So focus on individual development. If you have employees, you should ideally think about their development. How they grow, how they learn. Even in a restaurant, you can think a simple development could be learning English language for the employee. Employee learning English language will be helpful not simply for the job of waitressing, but also in their life. Okay, they can read signs, they can read newspapers, later on they can watch movies, they can communicate with other foreigners. A second language is extremely helpful for anyone's life, not simply job, okay? So, some sort of career development or individual development. Also, they have here in mind spiritual. So, employees are valuable, need to be nurtured to help them grow. You try to help them grow, try to help them develop their lives, okay? Even if you may have to lose them all the time, okay? Another common characteristic is trust and openness. It is very important in a business to develop trust and to develop openness. Now, the opposite is what I worked before in some Arab countries, in Arab culture, where you don't have trust. You don't trust them, they don't trust you. There is a general mistrust, and there is no openness. And for Westerners, that's very depressing. Westerners don't like culture which is, you can't, and they don't like to work people that you don't trust and that are not open. That things are done secretly, that things are done suddenly, that they surprise you, that you don't know what's going to happen next. And that's one of the keys for why Westerners are not really satisfied and happy to work in the Middle East, and also to work in some Asian countries, because there is no trust and openness in the business. Always. Well, sometimes there is, but not always. So that's a very important part of the workplace. And again, not only for foreigners, but for locals too. Locals can feel very quickly if there is a trust in the workplace or no trust, okay? And if there is no trust, they're not satisfied. Soon enough, they're going to try and find another job, okay? Another place is employee empowerment. You actually allow them to make work-related decisions. So, whatever might be needed, instead of you decide for them and you tell them what to do, you try to let them decide on their own. For example, I had people from you, I don't know which one in the classroom, right? The role of the manager is to tell the employee what to do, and the job of the employee is to follow the orders. Well, that's not really right, and that's not really good. And you can't just tell everybody and every employee, you do this, you do this, you do this. You can't keep telling them all the time everything they have to do. It's much better that you let them to think for themselves, to decide for themselves, and to manage their own work and to make work-related decisions, as many as possible. That's helpful for the business, and it's also helpful for the employee. Employees feel much better when they can decide part of their work as opposed to being told. Simple example is, I don't expect department chair or dean to tell me which chapter to cover or not. If I'm doing this job, I'll decide for myself if I should cover chapter 8 or not cover chapter 8. Or you should cover the previous topic or not cover this previous topic. Or how I design my midterm, or how I design my final again. So all of these things, they don't apply only to professors. They also apply to nurses. They also apply to receptionists. They apply to pretty much any type of job. Next one is toleration of employee expression. It is very important to tolerate and to accept employees' criticism. Many cultures, especially Arab type cultures and many Asian cultures, don't tolerate any criticism from employee. If the employee goes to the boss and tells them that something's not right, usually the boss will fire them. Does it happen here often or not? The employee being scared to tell the boss anything that might be wrong, and how things could be fixed, right? Well, it's very important that you actually encourage employee from below to tell them. Not only it makes them feel better, but it can make you a better manager if you know what the problems really are. Actually, the biggest problem for a high and especially mid-level managers, the problem is they don't know what the problems are. They don't know what are the difficulties of the employees. If they know the problems, they could probably solve them. But they don't know because everyone is afraid to them, okay? Now, when I was working in my corporation, it was very easy. I could talk to my boss anything related to the job and the work, and I don't know if he's going to help me. And I can talk to the other, bigger boss, and he's going to help me too. And I did not have formal communication. So a lot of times I know I don't have to bother a little boss with this problem. I just go to the big boss. Say, hey, big boss, I got this and this, whatever the problem is. Oh yeah, you do this, I'll contact that. He's going to solve it. And the lower boss is not going to get angry because I jumped over and above him. Sometimes I'll go to the vice president directly because, again, I know what I'm doing. Say, hey, this is what's going on, this is what I'm saying, and he's going to think about it, say, okay, do this or don't do that, or whatever the problem is. So, and no one in between is going to get angry because I go and talk to the boss about the problems. Actually, the strategy of management was the exact opposite. You talk to the boss only when there is a problem. If there's no problem, there's no need to talk. You do your work, everything's fine. You talk to them only when there is a real, genuine business problem, okay? And then they get involved. Because the boss says, look, I don't want to know what's going on with your work. I want to know the problems that you have and to see what I can do or what other people I can involve to solve the problems. Or he can decide and say just, well, no big deal, ignore the problem. So the boss will know there's a problem and decide to solve it or just ignore it, okay? And let me see what else we got. Spiritual organization, all right. Well, very simple. Companies and businesses are discovering that bringing in a little bit of spirituality in the business helps the overall business environment, and in the end helps achieving better strategy and better profits. So it's not that you just do it to help the employees. If the employees are doing okay, and if the employees are satisfied and happy, as a result, you're going to get better, satisfied customer, and eventually more profit. So spirituality pays off. It's not that you do something for nothing. It's done for the benefit of the business. And let me see anything else. Oh yeah, one more topic. One more topic, last topic. Controlling human resource costs. For many, many businesses, the biggest expense is people. Yeah, airlines gotta pay big money to buy a big airplane, okay? You have a big hotel, like, I don't know, Novotel, okay? Which is very expensive to build. But once you get to run it, the biggest expense in a hotel will usually be people. For airplanes, it's going to be, again, human resources happen to be sucking anywhere between 50 to 60 to 80, as much as 90% of all costs will be human resources, meaning you got to pay the people. And therefore, you got to control their costs. Now, it turns out in the United States and in most of Europe, especially France, but it's also a problem in Germany and Finland, that the big problem and the big cost is not the salary. Paying the salary is the low cost. The big cost is healthcare, where you got to pay more and more and more to maintain healthcare. And the other big cost is pension or retirement system. And costs are huge in Canada, they're huge in France, and in many other countries. It's not just typically European, it's most advanced economies. So they provide healthcare costs, and healthcare costs have been steadily rising in the United States and in many European countries. And they are beginning to rise steadily in Asia. Asian health is steadily declining. Again, Asia is following what's happening in the United States and Europe. So whatever's been happening 20, 30 years ago is happening now here, okay? 20, 30 years ago, well, maybe 40 years ago, Americans are getting fatter and fatter. Now Asians are beginning to get more and more fat. Americans are getting sicker and sicker. Now Asians are getting more sick, getting the same diseases that Americans and Europeans were getting 20, 30 years ago. Spirituality problem 20, 30 years ago began to develop in the Western world. Now they're coming to the East. So basically most of the evils of the West are slowly penetrating Asian society, like McDonald's, right? So you got now in China, the big cities are getting people more and more fat, while in the villages and people in the remote areas, they're still slim and healthy. So it's important to understand that whatever the Western problems are, most of them will be coming here 20, 30, maybe 40 years later, you will experience the same problems. And these problems are related in the West right now to pension and retirement, which many major companies or corporations provide, and to healthcare. Now, here, government provides some health care, I understand, and here governments provide also retirement. Now, we got two separate issues. One is called corporate health care, which is health care provided to the employee by the company, which is a little different from health care provided by the government. Same thing with pension and retirement. You may have a corporate pension, and a corporate pension is money that the corporation pays to you because you work 10, 15, or 20 years in the company, which is very different from money which the government pays you for old age. Okay. Now here we're talking about healthcare costs provided by the corporation to the employee, which is significant, and pensions provided by the corporation to the employees. You may have it here, you may not. I know it is a well-developed system, the pension system in Japan. So the Japanese are paying to their employees pensions. In other words, the company, you work for the company takes care of you for life, even after you stop working, okay? And it's becoming big in Korea. So, if these things are in the West, and if they are in developed countries like Japan and Korea, they are probably coming here too. Maybe they are already in Thailand, but if not, they will be coming in the next 10 or 20 years soon. So, these have been tremendous financial problems for corporations. And many corporations in the United States have gone bankrupt because they have not been able to control their healthcare costs and especially their pension costs. In other words, they promise to the employees big pensions, and the pension's going to come 10 or 20 years down the road, and they really didn't bother about it. But 10 years later, the employee retired, and they got to start paying. And 20 years later, the other's employee eventually retired and will start taking care of him. They will start taking care of him. Some will say, oh my God, we had a big financial problem. Those old retirement pensions are sucking all the profits, and we're turning a good enterprise into losses because we made promises 10, 20, 30, and maybe even 40 years ago to employees. That's a big problem to be aware of. And now we have finally 5 minutes. That's pretty much the section over here. Yeah, maybe we can discuss a little bit is healthy lifestyle. Some corporations would like to offer healthy lifestyles. There's still more and more and more employees around the world, especially the West, but also the East, that do begin to think about their health, usually when they turn the age around 35 to 40 or between 35 and 45. They get to, and the company could be very helpful. A simple way to be helpful is to provide a fitness room. When I was working in my corporation, we had a fitness room. And they say, look, if you're going to be working out in the gym, you can take extra 15 minutes out of the lunch break or extra 30 minutes. And you can work out for, let's say, 30 to 40 minutes in the gym. So when lunch break comes, I can go for 45 minutes in the gym and then have lunch for another 30 minutes, okay? And I'll be cutting my work 15 minutes short, but the company says, okay, you're exercising, you're in good health. If you exercise on a regular basis, you're not going to get as sick as often. Or if you get a flu or a cold, you're not going to be 7 days sick, you're going to be maybe 1 day, maybe 2 days. So corporations and big businesses would encourage their employees to live a healthy lifestyle, especially if the employee wants or is very interested in doing that. And that's not exactly part of spirituality, but it's a very good way to take care of that part. And many employees which are concerned about their health, you can especially think about employees which are already at the age of 50 or 55. They already have a number of problems. They probably got a little bit of a heart problem. They already have a little bit of an overweight problem. They already have a little bit of hypertension, high blood pressure problem. They may already have a little bit of a diabetes problem, meaning high insulin level or high blood sugar level or high cholesterol level. So they may already have these little problems and they could be very concerned, and the business or the corporation helping them out with a healthy lifestyle could be very, very important to the employees. Give them a good lunch, give them an opportunity to exercise, give them a fitness room. In my company, they provided also a fitness trainer. And the fitness trainer was, you still have to pay for it, but it wasn't extremely expensive to help you with exercise. So all of these things get to become important. For example, if you got a hotel, and in the hotel, you can say to the employees, you can use the swimming pool during your lunch break, or you can take 30 minutes to do some swimming. You can also use the fitness room. So, just as the customers can use the facilities for their health, you could let the employees do that, and many of the employees will appreciate it, and they'll really like the idea. Just like in a restaurant, you're going to give the employee a free lunch, right? You can just eat. You can do the same for the fitness room and for the sauna, for some of the other facilities in the hotel. And the employees will really like it and appreciate it. And we got a few more minutes to discuss. It's the appendix. It's on page 215, career module. So, you as a student and both as managers or as beginning employees should build your career. You should work on your career. So, what is career? In career is a sequence of positions and a sequence of jobs, which usually means better skills, better working conditions, and eventually better pay and better job satisfaction. So that's the career. Career, you like to grow over time. So which are the strategies that you can use? First of all, you gotta assess your strength and you gotta assess your weakness. So step number one in building your career is you should know where you're good and you should know where you're not good. Maybe you're very good at communicating with other people, or maybe you have better language skills, or maybe you got better computer skills. So whatever your strengths are, you need to know them, you need to understand them, and you need to develop them. My strength at teaching is that I can teach 25 different courses. Maybe not perfectly, but I can teach pretty much anything that's needed within the world of economics and finance, accounting, and in general in business. So, number one, strength and weakness. Number two, identify market opportunities, okay? Identify which businesses are growing, which businesses will have a future, where you're going to be making more money, and identify which profession can do a good job. Now, you're all studying for whatever you're studying here, okay? But a simple thing is that if you learn accounting, you're going to do way better than with your current degree, simply because accounting job will always pay more and better than a restaurant job, okay? Even if you become the restaurant manager, okay? In accounting, you can move from company to company and you can go up and high. So accounting always provides. Just one example, finance could be another one, banking could be another one, okay? The idea is you have to look for which pays what and identify opportunities. Number three, you have to take your own responsibility for your own career. Your mom isn't going to make your career. I'm not going to make your career. Your boss is not going to make your career. You make your own career. You gotta develop your own career. It is your life, it is your job, it is your future, it is your responsibility. Nobody else. No one else will do it. A lot of people just sit and wait for the job to find them and for the career to grow. No, it's not going to work. You got to do it for yourself. Next one is, no matter what the job, you have to develop your interpersonal and communication skills. Every job requires interpersonal skills. You may be a lawyer, you may be a doctor, maybe a professor, could be a waitress, a restaurant manager, a hotel manager. No matter what the business, no matter what the job, you need interpersonal skills. Next one is very simple. Practice. Whatever you do, you have to practice. If it's hotel, you gotta practice the reception or the reservation system. If you're a waitress, you gotta practice the waitressing. For some of you, I'm giving you an opportunity to practice the camera, okay? It's not that terrible working the camera, right? It's actually easy. You push start and you push stop. Sometimes you move a little bit, you zoom. You practice. Anything requires practice, including accounting and waitressing. The next is staying up to date. You need to learn the latest and greatest development. Whether it's advertising for your restaurant and hotel, whether it's new incentive schemes, whether it's new ways to hire. Maybe staying up to date is learning there is a new program developing new employees and you go there and hire. Whatever it is, you need to stay up to date in your field. You may be a nurse and you may have special. So whatever it is, you gotta learn more. Next one is networking. Networking means getting to know more people, not only in your field, but in similar fields. Just get to know people. Get to know who's where, doing what and how. And you never know, maybe 3 years, maybe 10 years down the road, a friendship or a colleague can help you find a job or help you get a better job position or a higher or a better pay. So this is called networking. Always use the operative. Well, that's what you do all the time now on Facebook. You're networking. The idea is to use it for jobs, for career, for growth, not for some chatting. Do you know what happened last night when we were doing something? So, next one is stay visible. You should be staying visible. You should be always in a position where others can see you, where others can actually notice you, where they can see your work. For a professor, one way to stay visible is you write publications in a publishing journal. Another way to stay visible is you're on TV. I'm regularly on TV discussing the European financial crisis and whatever the problem might be. You're on radio, you're on newspaper, okay? Another way for me to stay visible is on YouTube, okay? These videos are seen by thousands, more like hundreds of thousands of people around the world. My work is, at least based on this little Sony camera, well known. So you gotta find your way in your career to be visible. So if you're a hotel manager, you go to these hotel conferences, you do networking, and you get to know people to see you and know you. And one or two more is find out what's your competitive advantage. Whatever you're doing, you gotta know how you're better than the others. If you don't know how you're better than the others, you're probably not better than the others. And if you're not better than the others, you're not going to get a better job, you're not going to get a better salary, okay? So, you got to know your competitive advantage. Don't avoid risks. Don't shun risks. Take risks. For me, taking risk was leaving the United States in 2004 and moving to Eastern Europe. That was one big risk of my life. I mean, I spent 10 years in the US. And then, 3 or 4 years later, I made another major risk and a major move in my life, go to the Middle East. And then, 3 years later, go to Asia, okay? So, you should be taking risks, even if it ends bad, okay? Sometimes it's going to be good. There's going to be always a nice, good thing. So don't be afraid to take risks. And it's in the book. It's okay to change jobs. Remember, you're not getting married for the job. Job is not a marriage. You don't have to stay on the job for the rest of your life. You stay on the job if you like it, if it's good, if it's satisfying, if it's spiritual, if it helps you in some other ways, gaining experience and network and all the other stuff. If the job is no good, don't stay there because of the money. You're going to soon find another job. So, it's okay to change jobs. Doesn't mean you must change your job. You have to change. It means if you're not happy and satisfied, it's okay to change it. And the last one is, if you're prepared and you watch for opportunities, you will be successful, okay? So, learn the language, learn the skills, be prepared. If you're prepared, there will be opportunities. And with that, we're finished, all right? Thank you.